All right, and now I'm joined by the Sarge himself, Sergeant Slaughter. Sir, it is an honor and a privilege to meet you.
Well, it's great to be here, and I understand that you had a couple of questions for me.
I wanted to know about your role in WWE Legends of WrestleMania, bringing together all of these classic superstars from the past era. What's that like for you?
Oh, it's incredible to watch the game, the Legends Wrestling game, because it's a very unique way of putting a game out, because you can actually watch a film of a real match of the Legends when they were in their prime. And a lot of the younger generation of wrestling fans, especially WWE fans, never saw the Legends perform. So for them to see that real match and then go into the game and take that character and put it up against another character, I think that's very unique, and it's incredible the way they made everybody look like the superstars that they are.
Your match in the game, you'll be taking on Hulk Hogan, recreating it's WrestleMania 7. Was it 7?
I believe it's 7. Yeah.
7.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about that match back when you were in it? What was that like?
It was really a rough time. I was an Iraqi sympathizer.
Yeah.
And
you ever think about going back over? I mean, the Iraqis are the good guys now, so maybe you were just ahead of your time.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, with all the threats, death threats, and bomb threats, and everything else that went on, I guess people didn't enjoy the way I was portraying my character. But it was a rough time. We just decided that Hulk Hogan needed an opponent, and I had just come off of the G.I. Joe cartoon series, and
where you got to be one of the parts that make up Serpentor.
Yes. And so
along with other great world leaders.
Right.
That's another honor.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that. To see that happen, come true, and see what happened with the Hogan Slaughter going to the game now. Back then, we had spoken earlier that we were going to go in the Coliseum, 104,000 fans, to break the record of Detroit, WrestleMania 3, but because of all the threats and the death threats and bomb threats, they decided to go indoors and not to go for the problems outdoors. But it was one of those matches where I could have won either way. The referee, counted a little fast on me a few times, and especially on the 1-2-3 finish.
Yeah, they're all Hogan fans at the end of the day, aren't they? Previously, you had kind of worked as a producer and kind of worked with kind of the current television stuff. Now, what did that entail? Were you kind of like helping the younger generation kind of get better at wrestling, better at doing their jobs?
Right. Yeah. Even the Shawn Michaels and the Triple H's, the Undertakers, they all watched us coming up in the ranks of professional wrestling, so they would ask us questions and ask us to watch their matches and point out anything that I would do different in the match, and that was part of my job. And to find new talent, because eventually the Triple H's and the Undertakers and the Shawn Michaels will be at the point where they're going to have to become legends and go into a different part of the business.
Right.
So you have to have somebody there to take over their spot. So that was part of my job, was to try to find new talent. And to do that, you'd have to go out and go to all the indie shows and things like that. And the best way to find out how good somebody was is to get in the ring with them. So that was a lot of the job that I did. But now as an ambassador, it's just a whole lot of fun meeting a lot of different WWE fans and across the United States and the world.
Yeah.
Having a good time with it, watching the children and going to hospitals, seeing the veterans.
Right.
It's a lot of fun.
So what do you think about the way, what would you say the most dramatic thing that's changed since, when you were main eventing and doing that sort of stuff as to the way things are today, just in terms of how WWE is presenting itself and just the kind of the tones of the matches? I mean, you're not seeing, the concept of, an Iraqi sympathizer or something like that, like today might not happen.
That might not work. Yeah. Well, I think the whole key behind the success of the WWE the last probably 10, 12 years is Vince McMahon went out from behind the microphone and went backstage and became a director. And that's what really changed it, because he was back there taking 100 different characters and in his mind deciding what they should be doing.
Right.
And helping everybody to know what their role was. And, there was a lot of characters created that just the wrestler itself couldn't portray that character. So
right.
you'd see him come and go. But the ones that made it are there today. And I really have to say that Vince McMahon, the genius that he was, to get out from behind the microphone and get backstage and direct was the number one thing that happened for the WWE. But overall, the talent today are much more athletic than we were.
I got to say, one thing about McMahon leaving the announce position and going backstage is, he was probably one of the greatest.
He was.
Commentators.
Yeah.
I remember as a child learning what the word solar plexus means.
Right.
Strictly because of Vince McMahon constantly.
Several times I tried to fit him back in some of our production meetings and say, Vince, why don't you be a guest commentator?
Sure.
And he'd look at me and smile and go, not this time. But you never know, he might do it when he. Sure. I think it would be great. Be great for him to do a 2-hour show again.
Yeah, definitely.
Or do a pay-per-view, maybe a WrestleMania.
Yeah, I think
it would be great.
That would definitely be a lot of fun. We put out a question to the people that look at our site and said, what are some questions you'd like us to ask while we're at THQ? And the number one question has been about Macho Man Randy Savage. And it seems like no one really can answer why he's not kind of involved with things currently. I was just wondering if you had anything to say about any of that stuff.
Such a talented performer and great mind for the business, but I don't even know where he's at. I'd like to know the answer to that question myself, because I guess he just did the unthinkable by double-crossing Vince McMahon. I mean, a lot of guys went different directions and things like that, but Randy really double-crossed him, and I don't think Vince will ever forgive him for that. Vince is a smart man. He's a businessman. He's brought a lot of guys back who, tried to put him out of business.
Sure.
But somehow Randy got under his skin, and I don't know if he'll ever be back, but I would love to see him get in the Hall of Fame. I think he deserves it as far as a performer. And we sure could use him, his mind and everything for the business. And if Randy, if you're listening, I'd give a call to Vince McMahon, and I don't know what you're doing these days, but I'd give him a call and see if you can't bury that hatchet, and let us enjoy your mind and your thoughts of the business.
Excellent. Well, Sarge, thank you very much for your time.
It's my pleasure. And you're dismissed. As you were.